Operation Fourth Bridge is the code-named funeral arrangements for Prince Philip, who was said to have wanted little fuss after he died. But on the Vanuatu island of Tanna, there's a tribe there that believes the Duke of Edinburgh is a god.
Here in Tanna, we believe that Prince Philip is the son of our god, our ancestral god, who lives up in the mountain.
That's Nako Nikian from the Prince Philip movement. He was one of the tribe members who will, over the next 100 so days, consider whether Prince Philip's son Charles, the Prince of Wales, will be anointed as his father's successor. Vanuatu journalist Dan McGarry visited the tribe over the weekend and joins me now. Hello, Dan.
Good morning.
Now, Dan, is Prince Philip a god?
Well, I mean, you just heard from Nako. I think he parsed it quite well. He's saying that he is of the divine. You know, he is imbued with the divinity, but he did clearly say that he was the son of their local god rather than the god himself. It's kind of an important distinction because in everywhere I went in Tanna, I'm hearing people saying that he is a man. He was born in Tanna. And, you know, according to Chief Willie Lopp, who's the paramount chief of the island, he says he got on his horse one day, he rode down to the south of the island, he leapt into the sea and, you know, using magic and craft was able to find his way to Europe, where he wooed and won the princess and, you know, eventually sat at the top of the kingdom in the British Empire. So it's a really fascinating story, but they're all very clear that this was a man who went to England.
Why do they think this?
My sense of it is, I mean, it's very difficult to know because this is an organic belief system. It's something that's grown not from a single source, but from a sort of an organic narrative that's been built by, you know, hundreds of voices by now. My sense of it is that they, you know, the people of Yaunanen, of Yakel village, of the, you know, in the center of Tanna, they've lived a life unchanged in 3,000 years. And when they saw, you know, the British colonizers coming in, using tools and employing power that they had never seen before, I think they had to find a way to reconcile themselves to it. And by placing their own leader at the right hand of the throne, you know, literally planting the seed of Tanna custom in the British Empire, at the very heart of it, that's a way of them sort of reappropriating all the power that they see and saying, yes, it springs from us, not them. And so it's a way to sort of reassert their place in the world. So I always see it as a kind of a response to colonialism and as an empowering myth rather than one that would elevate, you know, England above them. They're actually pulling England down to their level. And as such, it's quite a compelling narrative.
Yeah, it absolutely is. In fact, I was working last Friday night with TV when the announcement of Prince Philip's death was announced. And it was funny. My first reaction was, oh, this means like, you know, obviously sadness. Then it was, this means like it's going to be a late night. And then thirdly, it was, I wonder how the people in Vanuatu will feel hearing the news of his death. So what has the reaction been like?
The sorrow that they feel at his passing is intense, but it's moderated by the fact that they believe that the spirit that inhabited him lives on. I spoke to Chief Albi up in Yakel village. He's famous because he was at the center, he was one of the key characters in the movie Tanna that was nominated for an Academy Award a few years ago. He had a very, very simple message. When I went up there, I brought a copy of the portrait that was released by Buckingham Palace. I had it printed up and framed, and I gave it to him, and he sat there in silence for several minutes, and nobody spoke, just staring at the image. And then afterwards, we asked him if he had a message for the world, for the Queen and for everyone. And he said, he began it by saying, Lamopo, which in Nawa language means I'm so, so sorry. And that was the sum of it. Like he managed to encapsulate the sentiment in just a few simple words. And there's so much, it's quite understated, but there's such eloquence in that it's something I'm going to remember all my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, when we talk of British royalty, we're always talking about successions and, who will be the next Queen or King of England. When it comes to Prince Philip and what he meant to the people of Tanna, does Prince Charles, Prince Philip's son, will he look to replace his father and be anointed kind of as his successor in the view of this tribe?
This is a bit of a hot topic because if you ask Chief Elby, he'll tell you that the spirit of, that inhabited Prince Philip lives on, but it has not yet chosen the person in whom it will reside in the future. However, Chief Jack Malia, who's the chief of the Aualitia village, and he's that's the birthplace of this belief system, they're quite clear. They're quite unambiguous about it. They say, Charles came to Vanuatu in 2018. We brought some ceremonial kava. He drank from it. We put a name on him. We bestowed him with a custom title, Menareng, and on that day, he was anointed as the successor. Now, that sounds pretty cut and dried, and in fact, that's the view that's shared by the majority of people on Tanna. But that little bit of dissent is going to be enough to slow things down a bit. And right now, the custom chiefs are all meeting in Yaunanen to decide how to, what the future of this belief is going to be. It's really quite fascinating because, many of us are used to religions and belief systems that are encrusted with hundreds and even thousands of years of dogma. And this one is new, it's young, it's still green, it's still sort of sprouting, if you will. And watching it, watching the care with which the chiefs sort of nurture it and try to find a way for it to carry on into the next generation, it's an absolutely fascinating thing. They're handling it with the same sort of gravity and care as the papal succession is handled. So I was hugely privileged to be allowed to witness a little bit of it. I don't think we'll see a quick resolution. I expect this may not be, it may happen sooner, but my expectation is that they will formally announce the succession at the end of the 100 days mourning period, which is traditional in Vanuatu.
And finally, Dan, has Buckingham Palace responded to what's happening in Vanuatu?
I'm not aware of any specific communication at this time. However, when we were down there, Albie and one other chief asked to convey a message. And so we recorded a private message for them to bring to Buckingham Palace. We'll be getting it translated. Obviously, Nahuatl language is not widely understood. We'll translate it to Bishlama, the local pidgin, and then into English. And that will be conveyed through diplomatic channels to London and then to the appropriate destination. So what comes out of that? I've been led to understand that there has been email communication in the past, so it's quite possible that there's more. But the main condolence message has yet to reach the royal family.
Well, Dan McGarry, thank you so much for speaking to me about your time, in Tanna and meeting this tribe. It sounds like it was absolutely incredible, and I imagine that you'll remember for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. It's a lifetime memory. It's not something I'll ever forget.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was Vanuatu journalist Dan McGarry speaking to me there. And Dan's also written about his experience with the tribe for The Guardian. I strongly, strongly encourage that you read his really lovely words that he's put down. It was also almost like reading an article and it just seemed so poetic. So I strongly encourage you to check it out.